Now from Houston, former United States diplomat Djerejian. He served as U.S. ambassador to Israel and also as ambassador to Syria. And, sir, Mr. Ambassador, Iran, by having Hamas really as a militant proxy in Gaza, in many respects, they can keep Israel in check should Israel decide that it wants to go after Iran's nuclear program, because not only would Israel potentially get it from Iran, but they could also potentially get it from sympathizers in Gaza as well. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's no question that Iran has been furnishing and providing these Fajr rockets to Hamas. So therefore, they are a key player in the military capabilities of Hamas and other groups, such as Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza. However, I think we have to make a distinction between the crisis in Gaza and the issue of Iran developing nuclear weapons. There's distinct but separate issues that have to be dealt with. Nevertheless, I think this crisis in Gaza, the worst case scenario is if Israel feels compelled to do a land invasion of Gaza. If it does so, the death toll, the injuries will be very high, and it'll be very destabilizing and will really put a stress on key relationships Israel has, including with Egypt, which is critical. Let's not forget that Egypt and Israel have a peace treaty dating back to 1979.
You know, when we look at this, this potential land invasion, Israel would argue that they've got to get rid of the stockpile of weapons, the warheads, the long-range rockets, the rockets that are less long-range. They appear to feel they've done that through these, their own airstrikes. But now it seems they're going in to get the launch sites and these underground tunnels. Do they have a valid argument as to why they would have to go in with ground troops?
Well, it's all relative. I think the Israelis have succeeded in really diminishing Hamas's rocket capabilities in a substantial way during the last many days of fighting and airstrikes and naval strikes. But let's step back a bit here. We see this play enacted time and again. And a crisis erupts between Gaza, Hamas, and Israel. There are military incursions. There's a minor war that is launched between the two sides. The Gazans or the Hamas's military capabilities are diminished for a while, and then they restock, they restore. There are new incidents, and then the same play is enacted. There is no military solution to this issue. The only solution, as ideal as it may sound, is that Israel and the Palestinians, including with Hamas and Fatah, come to a peace agreement. It's the only structural way out.
So when we talk about a ceasefire, sir, very quickly, and I know it's very difficult to bullet point anything when it comes to this particular region, but what terms for a ceasefire would be acceptable to Hamas and what would be acceptable for Israel, for example? What are the two things that have to happen?
The Israelis have made. Okay, well, for the Israelis, the key is that all rocket attacks and fire against Israeli targets cease immediately, and that ceasefire is sustained over time. That is the key Israeli requirement. For Hamas, they would like to have the Israelis lift the siege of Gaza, open up the borders that Gaza has with Egypt, for example, and to have all Israeli attacks and targeted attacks against Hamas leaders stop. Those are the two key requirements on both sides.
Okay, Ambassador Djerejian, thank you so much. We really appreciate your insights on this. Certainly not easy. Hopefully we'll get the ceasefire before the peace will happen. Thank you so much.